Hello everybody, I am Baltmatrix, and today we are taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition 03 Optimus Prime. I picked this figure up over at the Big Bad Toy Store. Link is down in the description. Just look at this large lad. It is a Voyager class figure that just feels big, beefy, and chunky. Now, before we move on, I would like to talk about the background here. This is the area where Prime, or Optimus, got the Matrix from Primus. I think it has been so long since I played the War for Cybertron games. And you know, it's kind of hard to find them anymore because they're not listed on Steam or available anymore because Activision pulled them. Yes, Activision. The same people that make Call of Duty. Anyway, let's move on with the review. The coloring and the molding on this figure is absolutely wonderful. I love everything about this figure, except a couple of minor things. We'll get into that later. But the presence this thing has is... It's real good. And speaking of real good, look at this head sculpt. This is the Optimus Prime from the video games for sure. Even though I don't like the fact that his antennae are almost as double the size of his head, the overall look of the head sculpt is really good. Like really good. Some quick size comparisons. Rise of the Beast Studio Series Optimus Primal, Kingdom Inferno, Kingdom Dinobot, Voyager Class Scourge, Voyager Class Tarn, Voyager Class Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime, Voyager Class Bumblebee Movie Optimus Prime from the Studio Series line, and Earthrise Prime, the mold, not the exact toy. I realize I'm being a little bit gushy about this thing, but I absolutely love it in robot mode. It is something that I did not think Hasbro was going to be able to pull off again. This one just has that feeling that everything here is correct. All of the proportions are what they should be for the character in the game. And it works well. It works really well. In fact, this feels more akin to the Planet X Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus that were released years ago, as opposed to the Deluxe Class Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron series. Unfortunately, I don't have that original Prime handy. It's somewhere in storage. Hell if I know where it is, actually. Posability for this guy is pretty on point. Head is on a ball joint, can look up and down and do the swivel. Shoulders are on swivels and hinges. Doesn't go for a full T-pose, I'm okay with that. Swivel just above the elbow, elbows bend to just over 90 degrees, and fists do swivel. There is torso articulation, and the backpack clears the torso perfectly fine, no issues there. Legs can kick forward over 90 degrees. Legs can't kick back much at all. There's actually something in the joint preventing it from kicking backwards. Legs can kick out at 90 degrees, then there is a thigh swivel. Bend at the knee is about 90 degrees. And there is some toe articulation side to side. No real forward and back except for the transformation. Don't let anyone say that this thing does not have good posability, because boy does it have good posability, and it can pull off some poses that, quite frankly, I didn't think it could do, and it manages to look good in every single one of them. The overall design of Prime works incredibly well. I cannot overstate how well this works. And the just molding, we've got the traditional vents there in the shins, but they're offset and pushed back into the shin instead of being, right up at the front. We've got this wonderful molding on the legs, and then what looks to be like a ton of little missiles on the crotch skirts, which I greatly appreciate. And then those holes that look like missiles are carried over into the lower parts of the chest. The arms are titanically beefy, sporting an Autobot symbol on each shoulder, which I greatly appreciate. And the chunk level on this guy is off the charts. Oh, I love this so much. Even though the figure has what could be considered a large backpack, it works well and feels good on the figure. Yes, there is a little bit of space in the back. I'm okay with that. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I mean, the aesthetic is what's important, and it nails it in spades. Now, for the figure, it comes with a couple of accessories, the first of which is this lovely big old blaster, which I like a lot. It looks like an engine was attached to a giant gun. It doesn't have the traditional INI port, or I guess you would call it barrel. It's got this little peg sticking off the front, which is compatible with just about every 5mm blast effect I can find. So earlier I used the Omega Supreme one. Here's the one from Victory Saber. Yeah, totally works. Now, how do you get Prime to hold said gun? Because you might notice there's nowhere for him to hold it. Well, they engineered a way to do it. His right arm pulls off. It slides off. It's just on that little peg, and then the entire gun slides into place and fits right over where his arm was, which is an elegant solution for something in the game that, let's face it, was not really doable in real life. Now, where does the arm go? Well, there is this little peg on the arm right there that pegs into his keister. I'm sorry, that's just so silly. I appreciate the fact that they have a way to store the arm somewhere, but having it stick down like that. Oh, there are so many jokes I can't make because I'll be demonetized. Now, putting the arm back, I do have to mention that there's really nowhere to put the gun or cannon in robot mode to store it. I haven't found a spot, and there's nothing listed in the directions either. The other accessory the figure comes with is this giant axe, which comes in 3 parts that you just peg all together like so. And then the axe also butterflies open to become a double-headed axe like he had in the games. Very nice. I would have preferred a different color for the paint here, but the yellow works, and it is more of a traditional Prime yellow. I would have preferred a canary yellow and not this more orangey yellow. And hey, that's just me being pickety and persnickety, but the molding is really good, and the molding is on both sides of the axe heads. I greatly appreciate that, and it just looks neat. I'm really curious to see what some customizers are going to come up with for, an improved paint scheme for this thing. Prime holding this axe works really well. I like it quite a bit, but it does raise one of my minor issues with the figure, and that has to do with the swivel in the hands. They don't turn all the way. They can go one way, a good long way, but then when you try to do the pronation, it hits this little bit right here. So maybe I can just shave that down, and that would enable the figure to move its hand a little bit more. So it does have some issues with posability with the axe. I haven't been able to figure out a way that it can reliably hold the axe with 2 hands. It's just, I haven't figured out a way to do that yet. There is one more accessory to this figure, and that is hidden in his chest. Come up to the front of the chest, and I should say the front of the head, and pop open the collar bone areas to flip open the chest, and we have a Matrix of Leadership. It's a tiny little Matrix too. It's so cute. It's so tiny. It's somewhat reminiscent of the original G1, but it's more in line with the games. And if I remember correctly, the game Matrix was similar to this, much more square. It is square compared to the G1 version. And my camera keeps unfocusing, and it just holds right there in the chest. Really actually kind of elegant. I like it. And when you close up the chest, I mean, if I didn't know that that was in there, I would have thought that was just a seam line. For Matrix comparisons, here is on the left, we have the Matrix out of Earthrise Prime, specifically the evil Earthrise Prime, and then here is the new Matrix. You can see the design differences between the two figures, or accessories, I should say. So now that I've gushed on the figure and said all of the things that are good about it, there are a couple of minor quibbles I have. The first of which I have already mentioned, and that has to do with the lack of rotation ability in the wrists. Not the biggest deal in the world. The other thing I don't like about the figure is the just gaping holes in the legs and in the arms. Look at that thigh. I mean, you could drive a power core combiner through that thing. I'm really hoping someone like Non-Nef or DNA 2, DNA Squared, DNA Customs comes up with a panel gap closer. And the same up here. There are these giant holes in the elbows, and it's just really stupid looking. Again, I hope somebody comes up with a panel gap closer. But by far my biggest complaint and biggest worry is the lack of heels. When I'm playing with the figure or when I'm posing it, it's not the biggest concern in the world because the figure is pretty well balanced, but I can't help but feeling there need to be longer heels coming off of this thing. There are some times when I go to put it in a pose or try to stand it up where it just falls flat on its back because of the lack of said heels. I'm not sure why, though, because it looks like there's plenty of plastic in here to have engineered an extra hinge of some sort to fold out to give it a heel. It is an odd choice on the designer's part because I can't help but feeling that it's a little bit hampered due to that lack of a heel. Alright everybody, transformation time. This transformation is way easier than I thought it was going to be, but it still manages to be fun. There is one point in it that scared the living bejesus out of me, and we'll talk about that when we get to it here in a second. To start off with, straighten out the arms and then point them straight out to the sides like that. Grab the shoulders and pull the shoulders out like so. Then come to the backpack section, fold it out and fold it down, then grab it and turn it around 180 degrees. Come to the shoulders themselves and grab them and flip them downwards and all the way around, and it will feel like they're supposed to go farther than this, but they aren't. Just leave them there and don't try to force it because the hinge that they're on, while it does feel strong, some of the plastic around it does not. So grab that shoulder, push it down, and flip it around. Now, here is the point of the transformation that scared the living bejesus out of me. You are supposed to pull the entire chest section, or upper chest section, starting just where the silver bit is, and pull it up, and then it will snap into place on this pin and hinge system going in just behind the head. My figure, this connection was super, super tight and required a significant amount of force to unpeg it the first time. Just be wary that if it feels like it's going to break, stop and just kind of figure out what you're doing. And the way I did it was get my finger in, or my thumbs into the tummy section underneath the wheels, and then just push and push and push until it disconnected. After that first disconnection, it's smooth like butter. So back to the transformation. Flip the entire chest up and push it back, and then it will snap into place. And then we can bring the entire rear, backpack section and pull it forward and push the head down a little bit, and then bring it all the way forward like that. Now, one little thing that the directions don't entirely show is when you bring this whole section forward, it gets, caught by the front of the wheel arches. So what I do is I just kind of pull the wheel arches up over that bumper, because that's important. Now, we can then bring these shoulders and slide them in, and the wheel arches will peg in the front and peg in at the top. I realize I'm doing this a little out of order. That's fine. Now take the legs, turn them around 180, and grab the hips and pull those legs all the way up like that. So we kind of look like some kind of distressed vacuum cleaner. Take the shoulders and turn the arms so that the Autobot symbol is pointing up, and then grab the shoulders and swing them back underneath the legs. So like that, and like that. And then we can bring the shoulders in and peg the forearms together like that. So then we really look like some weird kind of vacuum cleaner. The next bit of the transformation involves the robot legs. Smush them together, then come to the shins and smush them together and fold the shins away from the rest of the legs. Then grab the feet and fold the feet up into the cavity left by the shins. Then take the panels on the outside of the legs and fold them out. And then we can reach inside and flip up the wheels and snap them into place. Now we can bring the entire leg section down over the arms. Bring that shin section down, and it will just rest behind the front of the vehicle mode. Push up the smokestacks just a little bit, exhaust stacks, and fold them in and peg them into place up top, and then they will snap into the sides behind the wheels, and we're done. The vehicle mode we end up with is so very screen accurate, it just warms my heart. I love this stupid truck and just how absurd it is. It's really good. I really like it, except for one little thing, which we'll talk about in a second. So the only real issue I have with it, other than the thing we'll talk about in a second, is the lack of paint. I would really like there to be just some more paint on this thing, especially in the back, and in the front, maybe just some black paint up there for, I don't know, contrast? Just something to break up the monotony, but I do appreciate the fact that the wheels have paint on them and that they all roll freely, so you could do the do-do-do with no problem. Top, bottom, it all looks good, except from the back. Yup, that doesn't look good at all. I'm fine with it, though, because I'm sure a third party is going to come by and make something to plug over it or plug into the hands or something just to fix that up. And you know what? How many times are you staring at the back of the vehicle mode? I mean, realistically, not much. For this Optimus Prime, we're going to keep the size comparisons in vehicle mode just simpler. We're only going to do a few figures. First up, Holiday Optimus Prime and Rise of the Beast Voyager Optimus Prime. As you can see, there is quite a bit of a size difference between all of these. The new Prime is just vastly chunkier than these other two figures. Well, what about something that's a little bit bigger on the older figure scale? Earthrise Optimus Prime and Siege Optimus Prime. Again, we've got Optimus Primes that are much, much smaller in vehicle mode than our War for Cybertron Prime. That's just the nature of the cab-over design versus this new design, which is, let's face it, it's a bit off the wall, even for the games, but I still like it, and makes me really wonder if we're going to get, what is it, War for Cybertron? This is War for Cybertron, and then Fall of Cybertron's Optimus Prime, because that one was a big old chonker compared to this design. This alt mode does have one last party favor, and that is that you can take the gun and you can plop it on top for blasty boom boom action, and then give it a big old blast effect so you can, blow up some cons. And then you can also take the axe and just drop it on top using the little thin pegs on the top of the gun. So you get whatever the hell this is supposed to be. You can put the axe pegged into the sides there and have it, point forward or point backward, whichever you want. That looks equally really dumb. There are, 5mm pegs on either side of the alt mode, so you can put in guns or whatever the hell you want. I personally think primal swords work really well, and that looks really stupid, but it's equal parts stupid and deadly. Now, there are a lot of you out there that don't like this alt mode, and that is perfectly fine. But I would like to, put something in your head. This alt mode makes an absolutely amazing skateboard. I mean, I've tried this with a couple of different figures, and it works for just about everybody in the Voyager size class and down. Transformation back into the robot mode is super simple. Simply come to the sides and unpeg the doors, push down the smokestacks, grab what is going to be the shins and fold that up, come to the back of the figure and flip up the entire rear section, fold out the toes, and then flip the shins down, flip the wheels up underneath, and then fold these panels down. Grab the arms underneath and fold them all the way out. And yes, you are going to pull off the arm, or the forearm for the right arm. It happens all the time. Straighten out the legs, turn them around 180 degrees, grab the front of the vehicle mode and pull it apart. That will allow you to lift up the very front of the vehicle mode and turn that around 180 degrees. Take the entire chest of the robot mode, unpeg it, and fold it down, and then peg it into place. Take the shoulders and turn them around, and do the same thing on the other side. Turn their figure around and fold up the entire backpack, and there are these slots that the shoulders, when you push them in, will slot into, as you can see. Then we're going to fold that section down and push the shoulders all the way in until they snap and peg into place. And straighten out the arms, and we are done. I picked this figure up over at the Big Bad Toy Store. It should still be available at the time of this recording, but it might not be, because this thing is going fast. It is also on the Hasbro Pulse, and I believe their shipment of these gamer version figures are going to be coming in like the next week or so. So if you haven't pre-ordered it, see if you can. If not, I don't know where else to tell you to go other than maybe the Chosen Prime or TF Source or CMD Store, any of the other stores. Good luck out there and happy hunting, because if you get a hold of this figure, I think you're going to like it. So that has been my video review of Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition 03 Optimus Prime. 100% worth picking up. So folks, let me know what you think of this Prime down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I have been Baltmatrix, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.